Book talk, book talk, book talk, book talk, book talk, book talk.
Could this be the end of BookTok?
Hello and welcome back to another video. Am I obsessed with BookTok? Maybe. Even though I don't use it? Maybe. But sadly, this could be the end of BookTok as we know it. If you haven't kept up with the news, it seems as though TikTok is going to be soon banned in the United States. So while other countries, are not going to be affected, in the United States, which I would say has quite a big amount of TikTok users, there will be no more BookTok. The way I understand this whole situation is that it's not just going to disappear from your phone, but you're not going to be able to update your app. So after a certain amount of time, it's going to just be impossible to use because of the fact that you're not getting any updates for like glitches and such. So I just thought today I would talk a little bit about how I think that it's going to go as far as BookTokers making the switch, because there's been a lot of talk on BookTok about moving over to Instagram and joining that Bookstagram community, which is where I really started out with the book social media and is still where I have had the most success. I'm not quite as active as I used to be because I spend more time on YouTube, but nevertheless, that is where I started and definitely where I found my community first. So I thought I would start out by kind of talking about the differences in these two platforms and, round it out with what I think the future of this looks like. So let's start with TikTok. So one of the things that really sets it apart from Instagram and Bookstagram is that it is almost all videos. When it started, it was completely videos. I don't know when, because again, I watch it, I don't make it. I don't know exactly when they were able to do static photos with the carousels, so you can just swipe over and see more pictures, but it was always overlaid with music, and that hasn't been, to my knowledge, a thing for a super long time. While I'm about to tell you, some hard facts, a lot of this is my opinion, so take that as you will. It does tend to focus heavily into the romance and fantasy genres, and that could be for any number of reasons. In my opinion, it's kind of veers that way because those are genres that can attract a younger crowd, and I think there is a younger demographic as a whole on TikTok. Those are also genres that are pretty easy to, I think, get sucked into. So non-readers would come across BookToks and see people talking about certain books and being like, well, that looks good, I could read that. And, began to sort of enter that whole world, which is awesome. Anything that gets more people reading. Even amongst the non-fantasy and romance readers on BookTok, you don't tend to see a ton of nonfiction, at least the way my algorithm works. I have rarely seen a nonfiction book that wasn't immediately following the election or big political or social movements. I feel like that's the only time I've seen much in the way of nonfiction being promoted over there. It's pretty much all fiction, even when it's not the genres I previously mentioned. And I think that comparatively, BookTok really prioritizes recommendations and using trending audio to make funny little videos versus Bookstagram, where I think, well, I'll get to that in a minute. I've seen way more videos my favorite thrillers, my favorite romances, my book boyfriends. These are things that really do well, I think, over there. So overall, I think that is more where the focus is on BookTok. I feel like they also do more for some backlist books and indie authors, so I think that's great. It's really cool to see books that have been out for ages still getting read and still getting promoted. I don't like her, but Colleen Hoover books all over there, they've been out for ages and they're people are reading them. That's all I'm going to say on her. But even books like The Nightingale, Beach Read, these books have been out for years. And actually one that I think is crazy that's so popular, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, it's a fantastic book by Taylor Jenkins Reid, came out in 2017, but in 2021 spent 37 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. And I think that TikTok is a really big reason why that happened. So one thing that is really sets TikTok apart, I think, from Bookstagram and even YouTube is their algorithm. That thing is so finely tuned that I think that is why it tends to be easier for people to find success on TikTok over other platforms. It is just like it knows what you want and it can find it. I mean, sometimes I have to like be careful because if I'm looking at a TikTok, this happened to me so much in like October. I would see something political, like I would like it, and then that was like all I would see was stuff like the similar and similar type of like format, I guess, of what they were doing. And I was like, wait, I don't want to see this anymore. I don't want to see this. I need to stop seeing this. But it would be something I'm interested in, so I would keep on scrolling and liking, and it was just almost too good. So I think that is for sure really something that TikTok blows other platforms out of the water with. Their algorithm is just so specific and really can figure out what people want to see. Now, on Bookstagram, we have kind of a different situation, and I don't want to seem like I'm biased. I really don't. So again, though, these are my opinions, so take everything with a grain of salt. As far as Bookstagram, I think that it tends to be more heavily focused on engagement, and when I say that, I don't mean like in order to like trick the algorithm or get it to work for in your favor. I mean more like engagement because people want to engage with their audience. Yes, sure, it's great to have a lot of followers and get that kind of engagement, but people actually want to form communities on Bookstagram. I, for example, found a group of people maybe in like 2021 over there, and we've had a group chat for forever since then. It goes in spurts of being active and not active, but there was a time when like 6 of us went on vacation together. And I have another group of Bookstagrammers that are all flight attendants, and we talk all the time. And, most of us have met in person at this time, and we're always talking about, doing something big together. But we all know each other, and those are real friendships, outside of the internet at this point. And so I feel like that's where more of the focus on Bookstagram lies. People really do want to find a community versus just have a following. We want to engage a little bit more over there. I think that also Bookstagram makes a little more focus on aesthetics, and I don't mean that in like a uppity kind of way. I just mean that people click on your grid and they want to see something cohesive. They want to see something that is visually attractive. And I think that on TikTok, that just isn't necessarily important. You see a bunch of videos and they might have cover photos and they might not. It might just be like a still of someone like in the middle of a sentence. And that's fine, but it's just the emphasis on your grid and how it all looks is so much more important on Bookstagram as far as getting people to read your captions, because people, it's easier to get people to watch a video and then just swipe and swipe versus like actually click the more button and have to read a caption. Kind of counterintuitive in like the bookish world that, theoretically we all like reading. But that's just kind of how it goes. Something I think a lot of people love about Bookstagram is that you can have a platform, you can be successful without revealing much about yourself, without showing your face. So, I mean, I personally don't really do that many pictures of myself on there. I maybe do like 2 a year of my grid photos that have me, but I do have like my profile picture, it's a picture of my face. But I think that is something that people enjoy, is being able to share their love of books and like build a community without having to reveal more of themselves than they want to. And the last thing that I think is a little bit different about Bookstagram is that it's way more focused into new releases, talking about books coming out soon, reviewing arcs, that kind of thing. There is less focus on backlist books, which it is really cool that BookTok has made backlist books so like new again. But people also want to learn about new releases. So, there's a place for everything. And I think that's one thing that Bookstagram tends to do much better. Now, since it is looking like the TikTok ban is going to go into effect January 19th in the United States, I have seen some BookTokers kind of talking about like why they don't want to make the switch and like what is that going to mean for them, especially those who make their full-time income on TikTok. So overall, as a whole, I think that while financially TikTokers, if that's their sole income, are not going to be able to make it work the same on Instagram. I do think that most BookTokers are going to be able to make the switch to Bookstagram and be successful. And here's why. So as I said earlier, TikTok does do a lot of, they do static image posts now. And that's that's what Instagram started as. That's what a lot of people still use it for only. And so I think that if BookTokers have ventured into that realm at all, they'll be able to find a place in the Bookstagram community. I also think that because TikTok is generally, overall, used by a younger group, I would say that there are far more people that have an Instagram but don't have a TikTok than have a TikTok and not an Instagram. So I think there is a mostly it's like a circle, but there are generally people that only have an Instagram that don't have a TikTok. So I just don't think it goes the other way. I mean, I'm not going to say at all, but like not nearly as much. So if BookTokers are making a switch over, then it's going to be less hard because people already, they don't have to download a whole new app to follow their favorite creators. Back to what I said about TikTok and how it is easier over there to gain a following because the algorithm is a lot better. I think that since the app as a whole is gonna get, shut down in the United States, people will follow their favorite creators over to Bookstagram. Whereas if the app was, still going to be around, but like someone just stopped making videos, they might not care enough to follow you to another platform. But if you're on TikTok and you're saying, oh, I'm gonna, shut this down, but follow me over here, I'm gonna move, I think that people would start following you on a different platform. And literally, I have done no actual scientific research on this. This is my opinions fully, but that is what common sense tells me. The biggest reason, however, that I think BookTokers are going to be pretty happy with the switch to Instagram is because Reels are prioritized over everything. I think that has been one of the reasons why I've sort of stopped doing the whole Bookstagram thing quite as much, because I don't like making Reels. And so I feel like they never get seen, and it's just a cycle of like, why should I make this if it doesn't get any views? But like, it doesn't get any views because I don't make them very often. And so when your only content is videos, or basically all videos, it's going to get prioritized heavily. And so I think that that's going to be a real benefit for creators who are making the switch from BookTok to Bookstagram, in addition to any other niche of creator that does take their TikTok following and move it on over. Now, I have heard a little bit of talk about YouTube Shorts being a place that a lot of creators want to go, and honestly, I think that's a terrible idea, especially if that's all you're going to do. If they do want to also make long-form content, then that's another conversation. But I think TikTok Shorts by themselves are not a guarantee of success. Like, if you are not a YouTuber watching this, then you might not know, but in order to get to a place where you're monetized and you can have YouTube pay you for ad revenue, you need to have at least 1,000 subscribers, and you need to have either 4,000 watch hours in the last 365 days, or you have to have 10 million shorts views in the last 90 days. So it's a big undertaking. They want you to be doing crazy stuff on shorts to get monetized. And I think that even the amount of money you make from your shorts is not ever really as much as you can make from ads on a long form video. So, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is what I have seen. And so I think that, it's going to be a lot harder to make a full-time income making only shorts on YouTube Shorts. So I think Instagram is the best replacement platform unless a company comes out with an entirely new TikTok-esque platform, which, is a whole different thing that I haven't heard about, but I'm sure someone's working on one. So I want to know what you guys think. If you follow a lot of BookTokers, I want to know, would you follow them to another platform? What do you guys think about the TikTok ban? Do you think it's gonna really hold? I want to know all your thoughts on this kind of topic, and I just spent 20 minutes giving you my thoughts, and I want yours now. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!